This is Runescape, the way it's meant to be played, which is my series detailing my playthrough of 2009scape at a 5 times XP rate. By the end, I want to have completed all the quests and experienced all the content. MMOs take years to play through and often involve extremely long grinds. But should they? Just a quick heads up, I did play a bit before starting to record. I actually made the account to check out 2009scape and wasn't planning on making a video with it, but in just a few minutes, I knew it was something I had to do long term. I actually skipped Tutorial Island, so I wouldn't have had footage of that anyway, so you really didn't miss much. Although, I realize it's such an important part of the start of any RuneScape journey, so it would have been cool to get some footage of. Also, keep in mind that this playthrough will definitely be shorter than most for a couple reasons. The 5 times XP rate means I'll level faster, but it also means that there's going to be a bit less of a gear grind early on, because I can skip a couple items here and there, especially things like bronze or iron. I'm going to very quickly move past that. Plus, there's a lot of quests that haven't been finished yet. In fact, I would say more quests haven't been finished than have. So the questing is going to end pretty short. It's not going to be super long as I'd like, but they're adding quests very often, so I imagine as I go, new quests are going to come available, and I'll get to experience that content too. Now, if you would like to help out, I'll leave a link in the description where you can contribute to adding quests and fix bugs and all that kind of thing. I don't have a ton of direction for where to go to start my playthrough. I think most of it I'm going to discover as I go. However, getting a large amount of coins early on is going to be a huge help, since there really isn't a huge player base, and I don't want to rely on the Grand Exchange for income. With that in mind, I found an old school RuneScape guide claiming fletching and magic to be extremely profitable by high alching the bows you make. Which, keep in mind, 2009scape is not the same as old school RuneScape. You start to notice it really early on. There's things like, if you go to the general store, there's not a knife there. That was the first thing I wanted to do, was buy a knife from the general store so I could start fletching. And, well, there was no knife, but there is a knife spawn in the Lumbridge kitchen, so that kind of saved me that trouble. But you'll start to find that stuff really early on, so don't go into 2009scape expecting it to be the same experience. Old school RuneScape has changed a lot since it originally launched, and so there's so much variation from what originally came out. After banking all my items, including my new knife, I wanted to use up my arrows and runes, so I started over at the Lumbridge cows. I was hoping the drops would end up valuable so I could keep buying new runes and just keep going endlessly, but playing on 2009scape means that there's not really anyone to buy what you're selling. I'm sure I could probably find someone after a while, but I don't want to delay what I'm doing just to wait for more money to come in. But luckily there is always the general store to buy my useless garbage, and believe me, they're going to be buying a lot of it with this playthrough. It was during this time while I was banking that I realized that a big part of my goal should be just unlocking the teleports as soon as possible. Even if I wasn't going for high alch at 55 magic, I have a feeling that the teleports are going to save me a lot more time than they would in regular RuneScape, since the 5x XP rate means I'm going to be switching what I'm doing more often, and not just staying at one location and grinding for hours on end. I should be able to go back and forth, do quests, and really be able to keep up with everything, as long as I have the teleports. So after a bit of time at the Lumbridge cows, I managed to reach 7 range, 7 prayer, and 6 magic. I actually ran out of supplies pretty quickly, so I didn't really have any way to level more, but that meant it was time to head to Varrock to buy some more runes. However, on the way to Varrock, I managed to die to a rat.
Don't you feel silly? Don't you feel stupid? Don't you feel a little ashamed?
Let's just say I might have felt a bit, silly. But after running back to my grave and managing to kill the very angry rat that guarded it, I was able to continue on to Varrock. The first thing I actually did was check out the Grand Exchange, which was littered with loads of bots. The bots actually have an interesting story behind them, since the game is riddled with them. The devs behind 2009scape decided that the game felt empty without the hundreds of bots that usually roam RuneScape. So if you've ever played RuneScape, that's usually the first thing you notice. So they actually decided to add them themselves, which also helps run the player-driven economy, just like it does in normal RuneScape. But after checking out the Grand Exchange, I realized just how poor I was starting out. It's been a long time since I started a fresh character in RuneScape, so I imagined everything was going to be a lot cheaper. But also the fact that there wasn't a lot of people buying things that I was going to sell on the Grand Exchange, like the cow hides, there wasn't really much room for me to make money that way. So buying runes was going to have to wait until I had raised some money through fletching, which is probably for the best anyway, as I want to limit my use of the Grand Exchange to an absolute minimum. That way I can kind of experience the content without just grinding one stat and then immediately buying everything I need on the Grand Exchange and never experiencing the content to get those things. I will use the Grand Exchange when it's a grind that's just, I'm not ready to do that grind. Like if there's items, especially rune items, you'll often have those behind some grind. You have to complete this quest, go to this area to be able to buy that rune item. And for stuff like that, I might go ahead and just buy it on the Grand Exchange as long as it's going to help me get to that content quicker. But I'll definitely make sure I'm experiencing that content either way. So I headed back to Lumbridge to start cutting the trees and selling what I fletched to the general store. My goal for raising money was around 15,000 gold. It's not much, but I figured it would pay for the initial runes to reach the level for the Varrock teleport. The grind actually wasn't the slow and boring grind I expect from RuneScape. At the 5 times XP rate, I managed to do it in under 2 hours, while managing to stay entertained and feel close to my next unlock at all times, something I haven't felt from RuneScape in a very, very long time. The normal log section of this grind took about 20 minutes, and actually only because fletching feels like the slowest skill ever. Even at 5 times XP, it just feels abnormally slow, since woodcutting tends to go quite a bit faster. But it's even worse since you're getting only 1 log per tree, so you're bouncing around between all these different trees and there's really no time to like AFK, check anything, or do kind of the usual gameplay you expect from RuneScape where you can kind of multitask while playing the game. But I just kept selling whatever I fletched to the store, and by the end of those 20 minutes, I had already racked up just under 5,000 gold. The progress was actually feeling really, really good, and this is usually stuff that would make me quit RuneScape for months at a time. Even these small, just 2-hour grinds was something that I started to feel really unpleasant about because I'd spent so much time in the game, and generally you spend a lot of time in the game, and unless you're playing daily, you don't really get a lot to show for the time you spend. It was about an hour and 10 minutes in when I finally reached Willows, so about 50 minutes to hit the level I needed for that. The oak section really wasn't bad because now I was able to just cut 1 tree, I could do other things, and it was still entertaining because I was leveling up really fast. I was at 43 woodcutting and 35 fletching when I hit that goal. And by this point, my money goal felt closer than ever. I was at 13,000 gold already, without even reaching Willows, and only being an hour and 10 minutes. It felt great. By the time I did my last inventory of Willow longbows, I was close to 16,000 gold. I had 48 woodcutting and 41 fletching. This lets me end the video around 133,000 XP gained, which, although it seems like a lot of XP, 130,000 XP in just 1 skill is only about 1% of your way to 99, to give you an idea of how long this grind is going to be, even at these huge XP rates. So we're definitely just getting started. I think I accomplished a lot with my first play session. The game definitely feels fun, and with the increased XP, there really wasn't a single point where I got bored or wasn't excited for the next achievement. I'm definitely super excited to get on to Magic in my next video. I think Magic's something that's going to be really fun for me because I never really explored Magic in RuneScape. It was the one that I just never spent the time to level because I always used the teleport tablets. I didn't really need high alch because all of the ways I made money was from the Grand Exchange. So I think this will be a really great experience for me, and hopefully in the next video I can reach 25 magic and we can get the Varrock teleport. But I guess we'll have to see what happens in the next episode.